Hi, I'm Tom Henricksen from the Scrum Master Summit, and welcome to our Community Promoter Spotlight, where we feature community organizers that help you be an awesome Scrum Master. Today, we have with us Jeff Bubolz from Mad City Agility. Jeff, introduce yourself to you and your community to the people here at the Scrum Master Summit.
Hi, so I'm Jeff Bubolz. I'm a professional Scrum trainer with Scrum.org. I run my own company called Humane Consulting. And Tom hit on a few different things that I like to do to give back to the community. Well, I'm sure we'll get into that, Tom. But you know, I've been a product owner. I've been a Scrum Master. I've been a developer on teams. And, I've worked with a lot of different organizations, from startup type organizations to Fortune 500s. And have really just, seen a lot of different things and really enjoy helping other people to find better ways of working.
Yeah. And I guess I should say, I'm trying to remember, Jeff, when we first met, I think you spoke in Central Iowa. I think we both actually spoke at an event at the Central Iowa IIBA Development Day. I think it was it's probably been 4 or 5 years ago now.
At least that was back in the days when we were doing in-person stuff,
Yeah. Eons ago, right?
It seems like it. Yeah, I do a lot of public speaking too. So, things are different in the virtual world where you can do things, really easily. You just spend an hour here or there and speak for different meetups. Like I've got one coming up in a month or so here, where it's in Africa, actually.
Wow.
It's a new meetup in Africa.
Cool.
And so that's one of the nice, advantages of everything being virtual now, is you can go anywhere and speak. But I really do miss those in-person ones, Tom, where you get to sit down like we would, have a couple drinks, and really get to meet people and socialize.
Yep. Yeah, I remember a few times when you and Jeff and Chad and I got together for a couple drinks. So those were always fun. But to get us back on point here, I guess, tell us about what's the story behind Mad City Agility, and what kind of tempted you to get involved and put so much time into it, as I know you do.
Yeah, so Mad City Agility is a meetup in Madison, Wisconsin, and that's where I live. And it was a few years ago. It was probably like 4+ years ago. There were some people, and I was included in it. We were complaining like, "Oh, Madison just doesn't have a meetup. Like, it's it's the capital of the state. It's a pretty big city, but we don't have a meetup. No one, why don't we have one? There's a lot of agile stuff going on." And finally, someone's like, "Well, you should just start one." So Chad and I and Conrad, who too as well, we all kind of said, "Okay, well, let's do it." So we started doing it, and we've tried different locations, and now we're doing it all virtual. And it takes constant iterations, and keep working at it, and have a consistent cadence to kind of build up a community. And it's always amazing to us too, like, you always have the regulars that come, and then you've got every single time there's new people, and it's the first time they've heard about it, even though you've been doing it for years. So if anyone's out there running a meetup or trying to start some type of community, as much as you think you're talking about it and like everybody should know that this thing exists, they don't. And you'll find new people as the longer you run it. It's just, I think about being consistent and getting the word out there.
Yeah, that consistency is so important, though, isn't it?
It is consistency, and then just creating good content, and having people be advocates, because that word of mouth, I think, means so much more than a LinkedIn post or something else that people see on social media to get people to actually join.
Yeah, it's interesting. I know, putting together things, and you've done the same. You think put something out on social media, everybody will see it. And it's like, well, now it gets kind of lost in the shuffle. So you kind of have to look for other ways to engage people, don't you?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that's a good way to start. You can put it on Meetup, but also just talking to different people in your community. And if you can find a couple, people that are change agents and advocates, and they can tell their people in their organization, it can spread pretty quickly.
Yeah. You just have to develop that network and get the word out.
Absolutely.
So tell us about what type of activities you guys do in Mad City Agility that kind of help support those Scrum Masters out there.
Yeah. So, one thing about starting a community, is that, and when you're trying to find speakers, it's always, you guys got to find speakers. That next month comes really fast. And, I love public speaking. Chad loves public speaking. We love public speaking together. And so we can fill a time box if something happens and we can't find somebody else to speak. But we found it's really great when we can give other Scrum Masters or people in our community the opportunity to start public speaking. And they can experiment with different ideas, get feedback from people in their community about things they're trying, and just share thoughts and stories. And that's been really valuable for a lot of Scrum Masters. So a lot like, the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where you get Scrum Masters up there talking about their experiences. We do something very similar. Like we've got one coming up. I think, we have a new Scrum Master giving one this next month. And the month after that, we have a panel of 4 Scrum Masters that are new to public speaking, and they're going to do one together. So we just set up different activities to help make people comfortable with kind of getting started, public speaking, and it gets them used to using that stance of teaching, right? So like as a Scrum Master, one of the stances you have to do is you have to be able to teach different things at different times. And the more comfortable you can get with just standing up and teaching a concept, the better, because then you'll be more prepared for that, that case when you need to use that skill.
Yeah, that's what I remember years ago when I became a Scrum Master, kind of, trying to reinforce. We all went through training and trying to learn and teach. And you have to do that a lot, don't you? You have to teach, because as you mentioned, there's people joining a team. You have to teach them Scrum or other parts of the team. That's so important, isn't it, Jeff?
Yeah. I can't count the number of times I've been like in a sprint review, and all of a sudden you have a new stakeholder that shows up and they're like, what is Scrum and why am I here? And you're like, okay, let me give you the 2-minute version and then let's, meet and talk about it. Or a new employee starts and they're like, I've never heard of this thing. And you get, 15 minutes maybe on their first couple of days to like explain something to them before they're like in the middle of the team. And so you got to have like these different ways to explain different things in different time boxes, and getting good at being very concise and understanding like, okay, I've got a 2-minute time box. What do I need to tell you about Scrum to get you through this meeting so that we can like have a productive, time here? It's just a skill that you acquire by doing. I don't think there's any other better way than just start doing it,
Yeah, I used to work with, I did some coaching with a leader it's been a few years now, but he would always coach his teammates on being concise, especially in like, if we're talking verbally or in email, because he had some people that were, as you can imagine, some of us technical people can get really into the details and want to share too much. It's like, you just gotta, like you said, maybe Scrum in 2 minutes, just give it to me.
Yep, exactly. And then, I don't know, I always start with like, so here's some advice for people that are trying to be concise. Like start with the most valuable thing, the why, layer on a couple things, stop, pause, take a deep breath, and wait for somebody to say something. Like that's sometimes the hardest thing, because it's like, okay, I just need to stop and just listen and see where people are maybe having a disconnect. Otherwise, you've already hit the point. They get it, move on. Like you don't know that if you don't stop.
Yeah. Well, and I think you bring up an interesting point that we need to be quiet, because you mentioned before, Jeff, you like to speak. I like to speak in public. It's one of those things we like to fill the air, don't we?
Yes.
We need to be quiet.
We do. And that listening, can be very powerful. And so I think that's how you can meet people's needs. And sometimes just stopping and asking a question, especially a powerful question that makes people think, really can help them self-discover something much better than you explaining it to them and teaching them a concept. Yeah.
So Jeff, what would be one word of advice that you have to leave for some of those Scrum Masters out there?
Yeah. So I recently read Adam Grant's new book. And one of the things that he talks about there, it's a lot about relearning or learning agility. Somebody even use a different word for it if we put it in our community. And he's got this quote in there that, if knowledge is power, this is his quote, the second part here, then knowing what we don't know is wisdom. And I think when you get involved with different communities and get exposure to different people out there, different ideas, different concepts, you'll learn that there's so much more that you don't know. And like, just take that next step to figure out what that next thing is, because you'll never know when you need that knowledge. And if you have it, you can pull from it, or maybe you just know who to reach out to get the information you need to help serve your teams.
Yeah. There's so much out there, isn't there? It's a rich world that we're swimming in.
It most certainly is.
Excellent. Jeff, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Tom.
On behalf of Jeff Bubolz, I am Tom Henricksen for the Scrum Master Summit.